What's up, Wealth Builders? Today, I've got someone who's got over $1 billion worth of exits under his belt. He's made 9 figures from those exits personally and invested into, hundreds of companies at this point. Owns a ton of real estate, over 4,000 doors. This is somebody who's absolutely doing some great things, and I'm ready to pick his brain on where the economy is going, what he sees happening, and what's happening with the education space. Well, I've got Eddie Wilson. What's up?
How you doing, man?
Dude, so we met, it's going on almost 5 years ago.
It's been a while.
Yeah. You weren't doing what you're doing now.
I'm not. I wasn't, and I was not even doing anything close to it.
Yeah. But you had just exited when we met.
I
You
had.
had sold how many companies?
I sold 76 out of the 86 that I had at the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that was for how much?
The total exit was 1.27 billion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were just talking, because I never had asked you that
Mhm.
back then, but you personally made over $100 million on that.
Mhm.
And then you went and threw it into real estate,
Mhm.
got 4,000 doors. And now you are the founder of the Aspire Tour.
Mhm.
And you guys are doing these massive business tours all across the country.
Yep.
And you own service-based companies. And it's crazy to see the last 5 years.
Sure. It's been a wild ride.
Yeah. So to I guess back up a little bit, a lot of people watching this right now maybe have seen your guys' ads and the tour and all this stuff.
I hope so.
Yeah, I mean,
We spent a lot of money.
yeah. How much are you guys spending?
We'll spend on every tour about 500 grand in marketing, and then big stops we'll do $1 million to $1.5 million
Wow,
a month.
a month.
Yeah.
So yeah, you guys are spending 10 million plus a month.
Yeah.
To show up for one day.
Mhm.
One day in a city.
One day.
How does that
And we've done it 28 months in a row.
how does that financially make sense?
You
Because
know,
the tickets aren't like some crazy ticket price.
no, our most expensive ticket's under $1,000, and most people get in at 200 or 300. Yeah, it monetizes by playing this super long game. You know, most people can't do what we do because you have to have a huge nest egg to start. You have to front all of that, and then you have to wait for 9 months for you to actually get to a place where you break even and make money.
Wow.
Yeah. So
That's crazy. So you're talking about spending $1 million on a big event just in marketing,
just marketing.
right? Then you have the biggest speakers in the world.
Hmm.
Like who are some of the people that you have? at your events?
Kevin Hart, Kevin Costner, every shark. I don't think there's one shark that hasn't spoke for us, from Cuban to, O'Leary and all those guys. And then Goggins, Gary V. So a little bit of everything. I mean, Alex Rodriguez. So we have everything from sports stars to business gurus to, TV stars.
And you'll have like 8 of them
Hmm. Yeah.
in one event.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, you're spending
The one coming up this weekend, we have 17.
That's insane.
It's wild.
So I mean, you're going to spend 7 figures on just speakers.
Just speakers.
Every event.
Every event.
So you got that, the cost, the event itself,
Hmm.
the staff. I mean, so you're millions into
Mhm.
just one event.
And we are vertically integrated. So like I own the AV company, I own the staffing. And so we have semi trucks that go across the country, and we do it all ourselves.
Okay. So obviously that saves a lot of
Mhm.
cost. But, in the end, you're putting on these one-day events.
Sure.
People join masterminds and all this stuff. And
Mhm.
then, you have all these subsidiary companies that you monetize too. Like,
Sure.
how does all that work?
Yeah. So we try to get to a place where through the mastermind or any type of educational or community product where Aspire breaks even. I want to cover my staff, the actual cost of the events. Because the real long play is I want people to move into some sort of service-based offer that I have. One thing that I'm very good at is scaling service-based companies, whether it's insurance or tax or whatever it is. And then if they know, like, and trust us because they've come in through our community, they exist in our community, then, they'll naturally take, whoever it is off their P&L, and they'll put us on. And, now I have 2 or 3 services per member. And typically they stay a whole lot longer and they monetize better than if I didn't have the community.
Right. So I think where most, let's just say education guys and info guys come into it is like the education itself has to make money.
Sure.
Right. And if the education doesn't make money, well, then there's no money to be made.
Right.
Whereas you guys come to it from the standpoint of, no, the education's actually kind of like the liquidation.
And it's like value add.
Yeah. And it builds goodwill. You help them out. Their
Right.
business grows. and then, you just make money off the services they're going to pay for anyways.
Lifetime value of that customer is tied to the services they choose, not educational products.
Yeah. And I think that that's something I realized too. We were talking beforehand of like, I switched Wealthy Investor basically to that model
Mhm.
because I just kind of started to see it over the last year and a half that
Sure.
like education's becoming less and less valuable because
Mhm.
it's so attainable,
Right.
right? And it's like, all right, well, what are the services real estate investors want?
Sure.
Well, they need lending, they need leads,
Mhm.
they need CRMs. And I'm like, if I can just make money on that
Sure.
and essentially give them the education for free,
Yeah.
it's a different ball game.
Totally. Yeah, everything we've done is switched from, any type of education. Like, for instance, I have the Empire operating system, right? It's a business operating system. I went from selling that as a product, like an EOS type product where you could implement it, to, essentially almost giving it away and selling fractional services, CFO, COO, CRO. It's like,
Yeah.
because the services, they stay with you and you can monetize them longer.
You're going to need somebody to run that service regardless.
You got it.
So it might as well be your team.
Correct.
Yeah. I mean,
And then the education, the actual like foundation of how we do it or why we do it is why they stay. So if they buy into the Empire operating system as a methodology, right? They're like, oh, I like this methodology. And then they hire one of our fractional services. They're not going to leave our fractional services because our fractional services push the methodology.
yeah. Ironically, like that's what I accidentally stumbled into where it's
Mhm.
like, hey, these are the leads we give you.
Sure.
We're going to teach you this method that uses these leads.
Right.
You can't have one without the other.
Correct. It's symbiotic. It's hard
Yeah.
to leave. It creates stickiness and enterprise value because now you've got somebody who's not going to leave and they will continue in this reoccurring process because they need the service. So together the enterprise value grows.
Yeah. And then what do you think about like, I know Dan Kennedy always said, whoever can pay the most
Mhm.
for a customer wins.
Right.
And you just think about that too with like, let's just say if you were only competing on just education,
Mhm.
it's like, well, now you guys can go have 20 of the biggest guys in one event
Right.
and others. It just financially makes no sense.
It's, I get asked, people fly in all the time. Can I spend a half a day with you they're in the education space because we've built the world's largest business tour and we're just month after month after month after month. And what they come in and they realize is like, I'm not building an educational product and I'm not really building an educational company and I don't care about the event. Like for me, I can drop 50 million because I have capital into this front end model because on the end, I've got, $100 million in reoccurring revenue that's coming as a service.
Yeah.
I'm playing the aggregation game. Like I'm playing CAC at a very, very high level,
Yeah. And for those who don't know, like, let's just walk through kind of like what you see with that, right? So, for those who don't know, CAC is customer acquisition cost.
Mhm.
And then there's lifetime value. And it's
Correct.
like, would you agree those are the two main levers of what a business is worth?
100%.
So how do you see CAC and LTV for how you play it out?
Yeah, I mean, it's a constant look. I mean, so like every business I've ever sold, and that's what I'm in the business to do is to create lifetime value, to create, enterprise value, to potentially exit the business. Um, Exiting the business is what shrinks down time for me. It's like if they're going to pay me 7 times EBITDA, essentially I don't have to do 7 years worth of work and I get all the money today, right? Like, so
Right.
it
That's
shrinks
what they're
down
saying.
time. So for me, it's like I look at CAC and CAC falls into I'm only going to be able to pay so much of the lifetime value of that customer to acquire them, right? Like I can't pay more than 100% of what that customer's worth. So what am I willing to pay? And then based on that, it backs out. And then, like for instance, when I offer the same, like let's say I get a customer into 2 or 3 services, well, now their lifetime value grows, which means that my CAC can be higher.
Yep.
So the reason I can pay $100 to get somebody to come sit in an Aspire tour where my competition can only spend 20 is because my CAC is coming from the lifetime value of I know they're going to use me for tax services or insurance or whatever it is.
Right. So, and that's why Dan Kennedy says if you can pay more, you win.
You win.
But you have to have some type of back end
Correct.
that allows for that.
Correct.
So, even with that, right? You're using the education and the event and everything else as like the front end and
Mhm.
the loss leader, we'll
Mhm.
call it. And then they get in on these things that they'll stick with for years.
Correct.
so then lifetime value can be,
Mhm.
so much. Like, what is do you know the lifetime value yet? Because it
It's
hasn't,
it's an extrapolated version of what we've yielded over 2 years.
yeah. And just to give context, you guys have been doing the Aspire Tour for now
2.5 years.
2.5 years,
28 months in a row. We started 28 months ago.
28 months ago from 0
0.
to what's it produced to this point?
In total revenue,
Yeah,
out of all of that, over 100 million.
yeah. So 0 to 100 million in 2.5 years
Yeah, and
on just front end.
just front end, and then we'll be, at 100 million a year. Like if I shut down the Aspire tour, we'll be at that 100 million a year in perpetuity if I just stopped it, right? Like I'd like to get it to way more, but yeah.
And then, being an exit guy,
Hmm.
the goal is to sell those service-based companies.
You got it.
What's the point of all of it?
The point of all of it is that when
Because you already had a $1 billion exit. You walked
correct,
away with 9 figures.
correct.
Now you're redoing it pretty much over again 5 years later.
So if you go back to the point where I exited, I really lost my identity. It's what most entrepreneurs do. They attach their identity to these companies, and then the companies give them value or some, estimated value and more emotional value, and then all of a sudden it's gone. And so now you're the guy who has money, but not the guy who has, I had 4,000 employees. I had high-rise buildings. I had all this stuff and was known as this guy who had scaled these companies. Well, all of a sudden it's gone. So I really struggled with my identity. Who am I? Like, what am I doing? And I had the nonprofit before that, but then really in trying to find it, trying to find out who I was, I went deeper into the nonprofit, started doing a lot more humanitarian things and faith-based things. And so in that, I would find fulfillment for the first time in my life. I'm in my 30s, sold a company for over 1 billion, and I was unfulfilled,
Hmm.
like no happiness, no joy.
Were you
And
more happy before you sold
absolutely
than you sold?
false happiness.
Yeah, you still, in hindsight, once you sold, you realized
Yeah,
it wasn't what
wasn't
it
real.
was.
Yeah. So then I started doing all this stuff with my nonprofit and really am struggling with purpose, identity, fulfillment. And then I start to find it, I'm at my orphanages and all of a sudden helping these kids and I'm finding more fulfillment than selling a company for $1 billion. And it's like, wait, there's something off here. And I began to dive into that and realize that the moment that I went all in on purpose, all into my nonprofit, that I was finding fulfillment, but then you can't, once you're a visionary, you can't turn it off. And once you're building a $1 billion company, you can't turn that off.
Yeah, you know
And
how to do
so
it.
now I'm thinking, okay, how do I apply that to this nonprofit? And the more I sought for opportunity, the more I realized I don't have enough capital. You can sell a company for $1 billion and still not, and walk out into the world and see more need than $1 billion can service or help. And that I was like, what I'm really good at is building and scaling companies. And what I really want to do is put all that money into purpose. And so the reason I started back up again 2.5 years ago was to just pump more capital into the nonprofit side.
Yeah. Yeah, we were talking about it because we both have nonprofits, and the conclusion I've come to, and I'm, like, appreciative for everyone that gives,
Hmm.
but it's like, it's far easier to go make money than raise money when
Hmm.
you know how to make money.
Hmm.
And, it's like, "Man, dude, I just worked my butt off to
Yeah.
go get, 100 grand
Yeah.
donated," and it's like, I could have just made that.
And what I've been doing, our nonprofit has 4 pillars: feeding centers, orphanages, wells, and sustainable businesses. We've built 29 sustainable businesses in the last 2.5 years that actually keep the capital in that community for the ecosystem. So, like in Guadalajara, Mexico, I have an orphanage, a feeding center, a small trade school. There's a church there that we support. And then I have a sewing center, a coffee company, construction company, right? So like it's this full ecosystem. So these kids that we get off the street or we rescue from sex trafficking, they're in the orphanage, they're growing. Now we could teach them a trade. Their trade produces revenue for themselves, but also all the profit stays in the community. So not only am I trying to produce a company in my private equity firm that produces capital for these nonprofits, but also as we build these nonprofits, I'm building sustainability there too.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
taking
building
the application of who I am and putting it everywhere.
Mm. Is there, like, an end game for all of this, or it's just always like, "Let's just do better.
You
Let's just
know,
keep improving"?
In the beginning, I spent my life trying to achieve goals. And I would always set these crazy goals, $1 billion exit or $1 billion in revenue in one calendar year or whatever. And then I'd achieve it. And then there was no happiness or fulfillment in it. So, what I've really shifted my life to is not being goal oriented, but being intentional about every ounce of my time and making sure that I'm living to my fullest potential. I don't know what God has for me in this life, but I do want to meet him one day and say that I did my best to apply myself in whatever I was given. So what I've realized is now without goals, I'm actually achieving more than I actually thought was possible.
Mm.
If that makes sense.
And I mean, like, I'll say for me, I kind of have like yearly goals and
Mhm.
targets. And so maybe instead of like a goal, it's like a target.
Yeah,
And you guys have
sure.
target revenues and
Yeah.
things you want to hit. Um, but there is no end game. Like the end game is just that I find fulfillment in two things really. The first is when I'm obedient to what God's called me to do.
Mhm.
And that's kind of always changing.
Mhm.
He's like, go do this, go do that. And I'm like, all right,
Mhm.
I don't know where it's gonna go, but
Yeah.
I I find fulfillment in obeying
Mhm.
and not knowing.
Sure.
But two is I find fulfillment in improving.
Mhm.
It's like, dude, I want to get in better shape. I want to be a better dad. I want to be a better husband. I want to be a better golfer. I want to be a better business guy. I want to get
Right.
more views on social media.
Right.
I want to have bigger events. Like, just if I'm going to do something, I
Mhm.
want to do it better than I did it the last time.
Sure. And I think that's the application part, right? Like, I don't know what my life will be in 10, 20 years, but I want to apply myself every day. I want to get better. I don't want to stay status quo. And I don't want to just, I told you like everything I'm doing is endowing this nonprofit. I don't know what I'm capable of. And so to me, I've already passed what I believed I was capable of. So just now I'm along for the ride, just trying to apply myself every day.
Yeah. So you guys are doing a virtual event right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so by the time this airs, it'll already be done. But you're calling it like the biggest business event ever.
Mm-hmm.
You have like all these speakers.
Yeah.
You said there's like 240,000 people that have
Registered.
registered,
Yeah.
and you guys are into it for like many millions.
8 million, yeah, 7,
$8
8 million.
million dollars for one virtual event.
Mhm.
Do
We'll
you
spend close to 4 million in marketing.
do you feel like any pressure going into the hole that deep?
Yeah, I do. It was funny, a business partner of mine today texted me and he said,
What if the
he's
internet goes out?
yeah,
Like
yeah, like, yeah, it's like you feel like a war in Iran, like, what if
yeah.
everybody's, like, it's just the weird things that happen in life. I feel pressure in that I feel like I'm a steward of every dollar I have, and I don't wanna misapply it. I mean, to misapply $8 million would be a horrible mistake, you know? Um, yeah, it's not like throwing 2 or 300 grand away, it's 8 million. So it's like,
Yeah.
I would there's pressure there, but I'm living in this place, and my business partner, Andrew, and I, we live in this place of, like, you can't predict everything, and you can't really be prepared for everything, so you just make the best choice you can. And this was kind of the culmination of everything that we were building. And we went out and talked to Tony Robbins and Dean and all these guys, and they're like, hey, if you really really want to impact on this world, you have to consider virtual. Like, if you have 3 4 5,000 people in our biggest event was Madison Square Garden, and I don't want to do that every month, like that wasn't
How
a
many people was that?
it was, we did the theater, so I think it was like 7,000 or something like that.
That's a huge
But
event.
and we did the Toyota Center in Dallas, and I mean, they're big, but we have 200, we'll have 250 to 300,000 sign up for this event. It's like I can't hold a physical event of that size. It's
Yeah.
impossible. So if you want impact, you have to go down that path. So for us, it was just the next evolution, and we decided to go all in.
Mm, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I can't imagine like going that deep in the hole,
Hmm.
and just like, well, it's our first time. I hope it works out.
Yeah.
You didn't
Yeah.
want to like dip your toes in.
I don't think Andrew or I either are made that way. You
Yeah.
know.
What have you found speaker wise? Because you've had all these people. Like, um, is it necessary to have this? Like, at some point, there's a diminishing
Yeah.
return of hiring all these people.
It's not necessary to have them, but I don't want anybody to ever walk away from one of our events and say, there wasn't value for the dollar that I spent. I want them to feel like, geez, the value I got was crazy. And I love these events that are 2, 3,000 people where you're literally sitting right next to Gary Vee as he's speaking to you. You know, like he's walking up and down the aisles talking to people, or it's a big sports star. So it's not necessary to spend as much as we do. It's a give back. And for us though, we've got our favorites, and the favorites are the people that, it's like the people that really are authentic with the crowd, or it's the ones that produce the buyers for us. It's like having David Goggins or having Gary Vee at an event, is a big difference than other people.
Really?
Yeah.
Those two, like, you see as like the highest return.
Highest dollar return. I know that, and I don't know if I should say this out loud or not, but it's like, I know that David Goggins, if he comes to that event, he speaks and he really brings, what he typically does. I'll be up $1 million at that event.
Mm.
hmm
Because he's just from the front end, people that want to see him
Yeah.
to what he stirs up at the event.
Correct.
Wow. What what have you noticed from like different people you've got for the types of avatars they bring in?
hmm
Like what kind of person does Gary bring in versus David?
Gary's interesting. Gary, because he brings in this like hyper focused young entrepreneur, but sometimes he'll bring in the yard sale guy, like, because Gary does like
Yeah.
the, flipping the yard sale stuff. So Gary's audience is always interesting. You don't know what you're
They're
going to
just
get.
random.
They're very random, but usually there's a big enough subsection that are like serious business people that are really willing to put the work in that it's a great audience. Mark Slamonis's audience, where he's not our biggest draw, are very serious business people. If they watch The Profit and they know their 3 Ps and all the stuff that he's taught his whole life, it's like they're solid. The sports stars are the ones that don't bring us much of a return. People
Why do you
people
bring
love
them?
them. I think because it's fun. It's like I love the hometown. It's like in Dallas and you bring in Emmett Smith, or you're in New York and bring in A-Rod. It's like,
Yeah.
like it gives them a sense of ownership and pride that they have somebody local. But they don't have a huge return. They can bring an audience, but oftentimes those people are there to relive the glory
They're
days of sports.
W2 guys
Yeah.
just wanting to go see
Yeah.
A-Rod speak.
Yeah.
They're Yankees fans.
Yep, Yankees fans.
That's funny.
Ironically, A-Rod's probably one of the smartest business people you'll ever talk to. Like, he's not just a baseball player.
Yeah.
He's building massive businesses. Magic Johnson's the same. I mean, he's buying airports, and I mean, the guy is legitimately a brilliant businessman.
Yeah, I was watching this new Netflix with Shaq,
hmm
and it's talking about how he bought back Reebok
hmm
and trying to turn Reebok around.
Brought in Allen Iverson,
Yep.
and yeah,
Like that was I was like, oh snap,
Mhm.
like he's really in this.
he is. We had Shaq. We've had a Shaq a couple times, and we sat down and talked to him about the acquisition of Reebok, and that it's an interesting story.
Yeah. I don't know if he's gonna be able to do it and turn it around. Like
Yeah,
it's a different ball game when he was there.
it totally is.
Nike's got a million times the resources.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's David versus Goliath, and I think Reebok needs some identity, and it's struggling with identity still.
Yeah, like are you guys like classics? Are you
Mhm.
guys premium, budget?
Or what sport do you
Yeah, what's your specialty
excel in?
sport?
Yeah,
They got
yeah.
DeChambeau now.
hmm
And I know that, he's arguably the most famous golfer.
He is. It was a
Right now.
huge pickup for them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I don't know what they had to pay to get him, but
and
big chunk of
ironically,
change.
like you never would have thought Reebok golf. Like
Yeah.
you think Nike golf, you think about all the golf brands, but not Reebok.
Yeah. So maybe they're just throwing their eggs out to see which one sticks.
I think so.
Yeah, because I know on that Netflix show, he's talking about the WNBA.
Mhm.
Nobody's going
Right.
after them yet.
Right,
So it could be interesting.
could be.
But you also mentioned too, I mean, when you have so many businesses, you have partnerships,
Mhm.
right? You've had many partnerships that have worked, many that haven't worked.
Yeah.
Um,
Some that have gone in flames.
many that have gone in flames.
Yeah.
I mean, what makes a good partnership? I mean,
Yeah.
right now you said Andrew is your partner.
Mhm.
I met Andrew about 5 years ago, right after I met you,
Mhm.
ironically. And I didn't even know you guys knew each other and that
Yeah.
you guys are, doing this business together.
Sure.
Tell me about like partnerships and how this evolved and what you've learned.
I think partnerships are hard, very hard.
Yeah.
And you have to have a level of security before you truly can come into a partnership properly. and you have to have open communication. Andrew and I could not be more polar opposite people on the planet, right? Like, if you look at his social versus my social, like we are so different. It's not funny.
Yeah.
Um, we when we talked about partnering, I said, "Hey, I'm going to this event in Nashville." We both were doing this event in Nashville. We hopped in a car. We rode for 4 hours, and just basically, I said, "Let me tell you every fear I have about doing anything with you." He said, "Let me tell you about every fear I have doing anything with you." And we got it out on the table, and we basically came to a place where you need something that you're both aligned on, and the purpose side was what we were aligned on. We He was in a place of, semi-retirement. He didn't really need it. I was in a place of semi-retirement. I didn't really need it. That helped a lot because you come together in purpose, and so our purpose was to tie. And then we just were very clear on governance, on how the money gets allocated. I mean, everything. And then our contract is very, very strong. And we spent a lot of time. And then we did something that he and I both agreed on. There's a guy that now works with us. He's a partner as well in some of our ventures. His name is Larry Yatch. Larry is a SEAL. He led SEAL Team 3. And Larry is fantastic at understanding our subconscious limitations. Like, Larry is on the spectrum. He is non-emotional, and has led some of the greatest teams in SEAL history. And Andrew said, "If I'm going to do business with you, Larry's got to be in the middle of us." And I said, "Well, if I'm going to do business with you, Larry's got to be in the middle of us." And so we talked to Larry. Larry didn't agree, so we ended up buying Larry's company. So Larry had a company called SEAL Team Leaders. We bought his company and pulled it in. And Larry's whole job in our organization is to get the most out of our leaders and to mediate Andrew and myself.
Mm,
And that's been the greatest decision Andrew and I've ever made.
mm. So what are your roles?
My role is CEO. And so I actually oversee all of the companies, all the governance, all the finances. And Andrew is visionary. And so his job is to create and to push revenue. And so he primarily spends his time on the creation of any new product we have or driving revenue of any kind.
Wouldn't in most things the CEO and the visionary be the same role?
They would be for most businesses, let's say under 100 million, um, you typically get there through heavy, heavy vision. So, like I always say, there's 5 phases of business, right? Like, there's startup, perseverance, viability, scale, succession. From viability to scale, you typically are getting to viability and you're growing through vision. But oftentimes you need a true operator. Like, if you go to talk to most Fortune 500 CEOs today, they're not extreme visionaries. What they are people that optimize at the highest level. That's my role. And so Andrew could play vision at a level that I can't and don't want to. But I can optimize. And so his job is, if you think about it, this like kind of 80-20 rule. When we get into viability, Andrew's spending 80% of his time there. Once we get to viability, I'm setting my 80% on, scale and succession.
Where are these targets at with these different phases, like revenue wise?
So our target, our valuation right now is somewhere in the neighborhood of 650 million. We want to get to $1 billion valuation before the end of this year. And so we do quarterly valuations on all of our companies and then combine. And then I want to be at a $5 billion valuation, within 3 to 5 years. And so in that, I'm planning exits, right? And it's just those stepping stones along the way.
But with your well, that's awesome. I was more so talking about the framework of viability
Got it. Yeah.
to like where are those revenue targets when you're at each
It
stage?
could be anywhere, but we have what's called our revenue plateaus. And so once you get from really, you go from like 10 million to 30 million, like in that range, all of a sudden you need an entirely new structure for operations. And so Andrew's great at the sub $10 million business. Like, once he starts getting to 5, 6, $7 million, I'm typically starting to say, okay, I got it. Like, start handing it off to me. 10 million to 30 million, it's a totally different structure in which you operate.
What changes for anyone
Um,
listening?
Layers of management and structure and efficiency. So if you think about it, most small business entrepreneurs that are on here, if they think EOS, entrepreneur, like the
Yeah.
EOS system, right? They're told that really you should never have like more than a 2 or 3 layer organization. Well, that's because you're sub 10 million people or $10 million, right? Once you get to 10 million, it's like you have to have leaders of leaders, right? Like
Hmm.
now your people have to be training, not doing, and so it's like you have to have an entire layer of people that are absent from the doing. That's a problem with most entrepreneurs because all they know is the doing.
Yeah, that's why these big companies have 100 vice presidents.
Yep.
Everyone's the vice president.
Everything, and you have, presidents, vice presidents, directors, manager. It's like you've got 7, 8 layers. It's why I had to build the Empire Operating System is because I was running 30 companies on EOS. And I loved EOS. Like Gino, in my mind was brilliant. The separation of the, the implementer and the operator and the visionary. And it's like, but the problem is I had a company that was already doing 40 million in top line and it didn't fit in the EOS system. I was like, well, I have to build something else on top of this. So I ended up building Empire because I needed the phases of business, and EOS would only take me so far. And so, you go on to the next level, and it's like it's a different operating structure.
Mm. So from 10 to 30, there's just like added layers of
Mhm.
management.
Yeah. But those
Essentially.
added layers of management have to provide more efficiency, not more cost. That's the hard part.
So explain that because they do provide more cost too.
They do. But then in those revenue growth periods, they have to be able to reduce down your cost of operations and your cost of capital, your cost of the workforce.
Yeah.
Like for instance, like I've got a coffee company and we're at 7 stores and we got to go to like the goal is to get to 25 here in the next year and a half. Um, we're in that moment, right? And it's like, and so you have to grow fast through that time period.
Because it costs you so much to hire all these people.
You got it. And
Yeah.
so in that, you have to hire the right people because what they have to do is provide more efficiency, lower cost of capital, right? Like
But if you don't scale enough, then they can't even do it.
can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like, for instance, like I got to this level in coffee, all these coffee companies, and I said, okay, I got to hire this next layer. And then I said, but in order to hire this layer, we have to grow 30% in revenue. I have to reduce my food cost by 20%. I have to reduce my COGS by 20%. And I have to reduce my cost of labor by 20%. Right. Like and it has to happen in a time period that the financials, represent that.
Mm,
Most people, that's where most entrepreneurs get stuck right there. They don't know how to do that.
got it. And so they plateau at maybe the $10 million mark.
They do. And less than one, I mean, here's the small business stat is that less than 1% of small businesses in America actually get past the $5 million mark. That's why.
Mm. So going from 10 to 30, you need some new management.
Mm.
And I mean, you guys have gone from 30 to 100.
Mhm.
What changes there?
From 30 to 100, not much.
Really?
Yeah, not a lot. When you get to that 100 million plus, typically you're going to grow from a 1 to 300 million by either expanding vertically or horizontally, and you have to make a choice. And so for us, the path is scaling horizontally, not vertically. My insurance company, my tax firms, like they'll grow marginally. It's like they're going to grow and they're going to grow marginally. But if I'm going to go from 100 million to 300 million, like I have to add additional services. And so, or acquire, right? So like I'm going deeper and wider, but additional services are what I chose. So like we went from only having the tax services, only having some financial services to acquiring insurance companies. So it's like, and I'll acquire more groups that are, most people talk about horizontal integration. I talk about vertical integration because it's like that. I'm sorry, horizontal integration versus vertical integration. So horizontal integration is,
You were doing, I was like,
yeah, like
maybe
wait a
I
minute.
forgot
Yeah.
this.
Most people are vertically integrated, like all the services. For us, horizontal integration is can I take the same customer and add additional,
Yeah.
revenue streams from there?
So here's a question. You're doing Aspire to get people into services and putting in all this work. And you're also acquiring the same service like why
Yep,
not just acquire a bunch of service companies like a PE firm and just
I could.
not do all the front end stuff?
I could. The problem is
I get it's a great way to acquire new customers
new customers and the stickiness and the lifetime value is so much greater.
when they come from a community.
Yeah. If you have a community and you do some data research, some data science on that community, they'll tell you what they need. And when they tell you what they need and you provide it, they're with you for life, not with you for a year and a half, you know? If you just look at kind of our stats, our belief, right? We're only 2.5 years old, so it has to play out. But our belief and what I've experienced in previous businesses is that the stickiness almost doubles based on owning and serving a community.
I see. So if you were to just to go acquire tax firms and insurance firms and try to roll them up and then maybe start doing some marketing for them,
Correct.
you're like, oh, we'll start running ads and all this stuff. Your LTV is going to be half.
Half.
That makes sense.
Mhm. Yeah, we're playing the LTV game.
And you got to figure out even CAC and all those things for whatever that strategy is going to be.
And it's hard. It's red ocean.
Yeah, it is a red ocean.
Yeah.
How would you do it though? If you were like a service company right now, like you're not funneling them in from these awesome events, but you're just like,
Yeah.
all right, well, we got to go get tax clients. We got to go get insurance clients. Cause I get a lot of these people who hit me up, and I had a tax firm and everything else too.
Yeah.
So like, but I did this model to fill the tax firm.
Yeah. Yeah. What I would do today, I get asked that question all the time, which, it's like, if you lost everything, where would you start? And so you have 3 to 7 million baby boomers right now that are walking away from their business, and they own it. It's their customer, and they're going to walk away in the next 7 to 10 years. And there's nobody that is going to buy that business from them. They don't have a grandson or a granddaughter that's waiting in the wings. You got this guy that's done taxes his whole life, and he's 72 years old and he's a baby boomer, and he's like, I don't want to do this for the next 10 years. And less than 2% of those businesses will sell. 2% right now. On the market, only 2% will sell, because they're all sub $10 million businesses. A private equity firm, large cap private equity firm, they can't buy that because they can't operate it.
Yeah.
What I would do is I would stop marketing to buy customers, and I would acquire to get customers today in service-based companies. I mean, I'm essentially doing it, and I'm also, leveraging that because it's a cheaper acquisition, and you already have people that, if you can buy Joe Smith's tax firm down the street and you already have a tax firm, right?
From your experience, how much do you lose when this operator's out?
30 to 40%.
Okay, got it.
You have to just decide, I'm going to lose 30 to 40%.
Got it.
And it just is what it is. And you have to underwrite it that way.
Okay. That's what I've always been curious about that. I'm like, yeah, I get it, but it's so relationship based.
It is.
Okay.
But most of those people don't want to go through the hassle of finding somebody new.
Yeah, what's funny? I'm even thinking about it now. My insurance guy, his name's Brett. Shout out to Brett. He actually bought my friend's dad did all my insurance. My high school friend's dad. And so he did my insurance for years, and then Brett bought his business.
Sure.
And Brett introduced himself, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, whatever.
I'll give him a shot.
Yeah.
It's easier than finding something new.
Yeah. And now, it's been great. We've been friends for many years now.
That's 60% of everybody that was with him, right? Like, I mean, it's just natural that way,
Yeah, that makes sense. And I would assume maybe even like insurance is even stickier than most things.
Service-based companies are.
Yeah.
Not service-based companies like an HVAC company or an if they're providing
professional services.
Yes. Yeah.
Like what would fall under this category? Tax, insurance.
I mean, everything that you spend money on as a business.
Legal.
Yep. And there's limitations, I mean, to what it is. But then, there is so much, service-based companies are everywhere, right? I like service-based companies because you can hold on to their clients longer versus going, like so many people teach buying businesses today and they tell you go buy a laundromat. It's like, I don't want to go buy a laundromat, because I can't, it's so hard to know how to generate new customers of that laundromat, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you are, whatever you're getting, right? Like you might get 10% more, but in a service-based company, you have stickiness, you have an understanding, and then it's easier to market.
Yeah. And that's why they go for higher multiples.
Always.
That's something I've been realizing as I mature in business. For me, I got started flipping houses and everything else. And it's like, this is the best way to make cash ever.
Yeah.
Like I can go make 30 grand, 40, like you just can't do that in a service-based business.
You can't.
or a laundromat or any of these things. And I'm like, if you guys want life-changing money,
Mhm.
there ain't many better things than flipping and wholesaling.
No.
But then to your point, like you can keep doing that forever. And it's like, okay, you can do well,
Right.
but there's no multiple, there's no exit, there's none of these things.
The nice thing is that the population, American population, um, our education system is so broken. They're taught to just stay in a position for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. They're not taught to go flip houses. They're not taught to be entrepreneurs. And so most people are just never going to take that step. So an entrepreneur can take a service-based company, plug in people that have been taught their entire lives that are never going to change, how to make good money, how to, provide for their families. And I don't have to do the service-based business, but there's the general population wants to,
Yeah.
and in the end, it's like they're going to go work for someone. And so for me, if I can provide a great environment, a great service, I feel good about that.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. It's just like I've seen now the transition even in my mindset where, and I still do, so this isn't even like that has changed, but you go for basically like big money, quick cash
Mhm.
things. So
Yeah,
it's like, oh, okay, flipping a house, wholesaling, high ticket coaching.
sure.
You even see these high commission things
Mhm.
of like people selling life insurance,
Sure.
whatever, right?
Yeah.
And it's like those are great, and some of them don't recur, and it is what it is. But then you talk about tax and insurance. It's like you definitely ain't getting rich like tomorrow. It's not changing
No,
your life tomorrow.
no,
Like it's a grind to
it's a
build
grind.
up those clientele. To
Yeah.
your point of, it's better to just buy
Mhm.
the clientele.
Just buy it. And today, the cost of that is so much cheaper than creating it
Yeah.
because less than 2% of these businesses are selling. So, can you own or finance a business? Yes, absolutely. I mean, I own or finance the acquisitions that I have all the time. It's like, why would I put cash out if I don't have to? And most of them just want legacy for their business or their name.
And so do you just keep the name the same and everything?
No, I'll eventually roll it into what I'm doing. But, for instance, the last tax firm we bought, they really wanted to keep their people intact. That's all he wanted. Like he
Yeah.
didn't care about the name. He didn't care about he cared about the clients, but he really cared about his people.
Yeah.
I
Making
was
sure they
helping a
still have a
group
job.
I was helping a group roll up dental practices. And it's like most of these dentists that are in their 70s, they just want their people cared for. They don't even care what they're making on these dental practices.
Mm. So, I mean, for you, when you look at it, you're doing a lot. Well, actually, how do you decide which firm gets the clients from Aspire?
So it's all one firm.
Got it.
Yeah, it's all one firm.
Okay.
They come in, and then it's just an allocation of resources.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like you're buying their CPAs, and
Mhm,
that makes sense. Um, but what for you specifically, having your hands in so many cookie jars,
mhm,
and yet you're overseeing the top of funnel,
mhm,
and then you're overseeing all the horizontal
mhm.
things going on.
Yeah,
How do you manage your time?
yeah. I spend a lot of time with my asset leaders, and then I'm not doing the work, I'm just overseeing what they're doing and how they're doing it. That's where my empire operating system is, like, invaluable in that we all speak the same language, they all report the same way, we all look at our finances the same way, and on Tuesdays, which are my win meetings, I mean, I literally spend all day governing those businesses, and on Tuesday, I'm done, like, we've got 27 companies I'm overseeing right now, and I get all that done on a Tuesday.
Got it. So Tuesday is just meeting day.
Mhm. That's what we call WIN meetings. Weekly important numbers is the acronym.
Okay, win
And
meetings.
and so essentially it's all of my numbers, and I can tell you, and I have a rule, and that is we reconcile our books on a weekly basis.
Wow.
I don't wait for the end of the month. I reconcile every week. And so I have an entire financial team. This is the secret sauce. I have an entire financial team that reconciles the books from Friday at 5 all weekend long. So Tuesday morning when I walk in, I know everything we spent and everything we made last week. And then if you think about it this way, like go back to the coffee illustration. So we crush Starbucks when they're right down the street every time. Anytime I'm glad to put a coffee shop right next store to a Starbucks. Because if you think about Starbucks, it's like their data rolls up, it goes to a regional manager, and then once a month, they will actually look at these numbers and they'll make decisions essentially 12 times a year. For me, we look every Tuesday at every single coffee shop we have, reconcile to the penny, and I make decisions every single week. So we get 52 chances to make good decisions in coffee. If you have 52 chances a year to make good decisions versus 12, who's going to win? I'm going to win based on iterations. That's how I look at all my companies.
And do you do it Tuesday just because Monday they need to gather?
Yes.
I
Yep.
see.
And there's some reconciliation that has to happen between the asset leaders.
Now, so do you not do any meetings Monday? Like, what do the people do on Monday?
Monday, they're doing normal work stuff, but my governance meetings are Tuesdays.
You know what's so funny is we do our meetings on Monday now, and it's, from like 9 to 12. I do it
Mhm.
all, which I don't need as many meetings as you've got.
Yeah.
But I used to do it on Tuesday.
Mhm.
Like, naturally, I was like, yeah, it makes sense to do Tuesday. Like, people got to,
Yeah.
like, Monday, you got to catch up and do all
Mhm.
this. Like, let's just meet on Tuesdays.
Yeah. Mine is because I want accurate data from the week previous. Yeah.
Hmm. I might
I
go
can
back to
tell
that.
you I can tell you every Tuesday where I'm at financially, what we made, what decisions we made that was good, what decisions we made that was bad. I mean, like, I have all data, all my stoplight reports, all my financials are there on Tuesdays.
I think I'm going to switch to that. No, it
It
makes sense too because I've been getting my financial stuff and not even as detailed as to your point. So I'm gonna talk to my sister about that since she's the CFO. Um, but yeah, like for her, it's hard to rectify Fridays
Yeah.
because things are coming in. Our workshop always ends Friday too. So it's
We
like Tuesday would make even more sense.
If you think about it, we cut ours off at Friday at 5. We do events all weekend long.
Yep. It's
After
not gonna rectify.
after Friday at 5, it moves on to the next week. Yep.
Oh, wait. So after Friday at 5. So they're gonna give you a report up to Friday at 5.
Right. So Friday at 5 to Friday at 5, right? Tuesdays, I look at those numbers.
I see.
Yep. I don't know my numbers Saturday, Sunday because they go on next week's.
Okay.
Yep. But think about it, every 7 days, I'm reconciling my finances, and I'm making decisions based off of that
On Tuesday.
on Tuesday.
Okay. I'm gonna have to rethink how I want to do this after.
It revolutionizes every business that we coach and help in my own businesses because you when you are confident in your numbers and you make a decision every week based on those numbers, it's like it's just iterations. I don't have to be 100% better than my competition. I have to be 5% better every week,
hmm
you know?
For businesses on the finance side, what are your most important metrics that you're tracking?
Yeah, so go back to CAC. I have to know what it costs me to get a customer. I have to know what it then costs me on fulfillment, right? And depending on the type of business, that margin is everything. So, for instance, in tax, I should be running a 22 to 25% margin because it's going to cost me 10 to 15% to get that customer up front, right? So I only have certain margins in that opening window. Then over time is where I'm going to make my money. So it really depends on the type of business, but I think CAC is your ultimate number that you should be focused on.
So CAC on the growth side
Mhm.
of things,
Yes.
obviously churn.
Yeah. Churn. Well, once you get into like we're in a high growth period. So if we got into this kind of maintenance period, then it's going to be churn. You're
You're
going to move.
optimizing for churn at that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. You have to switch into that.
But when you're in high growth, churn's gonna be higher.
Churn is what it is.
And then you're gonna also obviously look at revenue and net,
Correct.
all those things. Um,
Now, I do know every single Tuesday what my net profitability is on every company. And I could tell my asset leaders, whether they were successful last week or not.
Now you look at it from a net profit standpoint of last week only.
Last week, well, I mean, it's a rolling total of the year as well, but yeah, last week only. But we pace, right? So like for instance, um, every Tuesday morning. So right now, like our goal across our service-based companies is to do $1 million a week, right? Like that's what we want is million. So we call it the $1 million huddle. So every Tuesday morning for 10 minutes, we're doing the $1 million huddle before we go into the wins. And it's all about talking to these service-based companies together to determine did they do the million or did they not. So we do a bunch of fun things like that too.
So, but I guess to be clear, you're looking from Friday at 5 to Friday at 5, and you're going to check your net profitability on that week.
Correct.
And then you're looking at also, I'm guessing, the year to date, the quarter to date, the month to date.
Sure.
But the most important thing to you is
Week.
the week, because
Mhm.
that stuff already happened.
Correct.
Okay.
And optimizing for the next week.
Mm. Whatever changes need to be made. So where does for you anyways, being the guy who's kind of like financing these things, where does cash flow, and
Yeah.
because you're putting out so much money,
Mhm.
like that's got to be I don't wanna say tough to track because you got a big team, but there's like a lot of complexity to your business with so much cash out.
Yeah. My belief is that you have to optimize how you grow towards $1 billion company is very different than how you grow to a $10 million company. Um, what I look at is the speed of my capital versus the amount of my capital. What I want is a dollar out and a dollar in, or a dollar out,
Yeah,
dollar 10 back in.
we're talking
It's like
about payback period.
you got it. Payback period is everything. And so like when you look at your like for instance, it's like if you look at my window of aspire to somebody signing up for tax services, and that could be 8, 9 months, right? Like I mean, there's a long window there. My goal is to constantly shorten that down.
Yeah.
And so as you focus on the time period of the return of that capital, cash flow actually takes care of itself.
Yeah. I learned that. So I started doing our virtual workshops weekly
Hmm.
for that reason.
Sure.
I was talking to some 9-figure guys, and they really explain, and I naturally thought that. I was like,
Sure.
it just was like, yeah, that's why I like wholesaling. I make the
Mhm.
money
Right.
quick.
It's
I
faster.
mark it and it comes back in 30,
Yeah.
45 days. Whereas a flip, I got to put money out for 6 months,
Right.
8 months. And same thing with the syndication. You put money out for 5 years.
Mhm.
And it's like, nobody had really ever explained to me of like, well, yeah, you hold it for, I'm like, no, there's a difference when money comes back
Right.
in 30 days
There's a
versus
cost
5
of capital.
years.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's not the same.
It's
If I
not.
roll this money significantly quicker, like I'm gonna make way more
Mhm.
than it's sitting. So eventually, it's funny how our model shifted because, in the education world, we were doing WealthCon every quarter.
Mhm.
And so, I'm fronting all this money every quarter. And, basically our payback was 90 days.
Right.
On that event, it's like, boom, we're made whole. Whatever profits left over,
Mhm.
cool. Then I started doing the virtual workshops once a month, and it
Mhm.
was like, oh, dude, my payback just became 30 days.
It's faster.
That was like way better with less risk.
Mhm.
And then they're like, why don't you do it every week? Why not try and get a payback in a week? And I
Sure.
was like, all right. And then sure enough, it's now every week. And then they're like, yeah, now, if you really want to scale, you got to dial in CAC and LTV, because at that point, yeah, dude, you do get to break even every week. But if you spent more, what if now all of a sudden it takes, yeah, that first month you don't break even, and, whatever,
Right.
but the second payment you break even,
Yeah.
or is it the third or the fourth?
Right.
And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like I like when you're at 7 days,
Yeah.
but I now my mind gets it. I'm like, okay, well, yeah, if I number one have enough cash to withstand
Mhm.
that long of a waiting period,
Right.
okay. And then two, I better be dialed in on what the LTV actually is
Mhm.
if you're gonna play that long of a game.
You got it. You got it. That's where small business operators struggle, because they don't understand the cost of how long their capital, like, what does it cost you for your capital to be out that long, right?
Mhm.
Your cash conversion cycle is everything.
Yeah, or you end up having to raise capital and give up your business
Exactly.
because you realize you
Mhm.
don't have enough capital to withstand waiting. You said
Right.
9 months. I
Right.
mean, you're fronting how much money right now
Yeah.
for this to work?
If I shut down, and this is the conversation my business partner and I have all the time. If I shut down all Aspires and I just let it play out, right? It could be 40 or $50 million. So I mean, that's truthfully what's out, you know?
That you'll get back
Yeah,
from capital you have out.
correct. Because it's not just the capital expended, it's the capital that's in the waiting, right?
How so? What do you mean?
So like for instance, all of your capital that's out, it's not just the money you put out. Like let's say, let's just go to the wholesaling model. So let's say you got to put up, $10,000 for a lead. What do you think your average lead cost is for a wholesale?
Um, right now in Vegas, about $300.
you get a lead for $300.
Yeah.
How about an acquisition? What's that cost?
An acquisition will be about 1 out of 10 to 15. So yeah, I mean, our cost of contract could be like 4,000, 5,000.
4,000. Okay. So let's say you put that 4 grand out, right?
Yep.
And then let's say it takes you how long of time period, right? Like
30 to 45.
30 to 45 days. So it takes you a month. So the question is not just that 3 or 4 grand that's out, but it's also the money that if you just stopped and you just farmed your leads right now, how much you actually would have without putting capital out.
Yeah, because it'll still make money from
Correct.
follow-up.
Yeah. So it's like, because that's the real number, right? Like that's your real cash number, is not just the money that's actually out. It's the money that it's actually creating while it's out.
Because you built up this asset that will still keep spitting off.
Correct.
And I guess that's your point too with these recurring revenue businesses. Like, yeah, at some point, everyone theoretically would churn out.
Yeah.
But that's years.
Years and years and years.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So that's how the private equity firms value your business, right? It's not just, they're not just looking at what's the cost of a customer. It's the lifetime of that customer and what's the likelihood of them actually churning out.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, did you guys raise capital for this at all, or you just used your money?
So we had our own capital in the beginning that we could have used. We had a guy come in who had a fund who invested in 3 of our assets. And we used his capital and our capital to build it all. He kind of fizzled and burnt out. He had his own issues. So he kind of left us with the bag thinking that all this money was going to be coming. And when I say the bag, it was about a $43 million, loss that we were expecting. So we had to front a lot of the money that we didn't expect, which
It wasn't like a financial loss. It was a cash that you had just had to a shortfall.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what'd you guys do?
It's funded ourselves. I mean, it's like we funded ourselves.
But if you had the ability to fund it, why even bring this guy in the first place?
Because I like it's the cost of capital, right? And so it's like limiting your your exposure. And then
You're diversifying a bit.
I always have stuff going on even outside of Aspire, right? Like I'm buying all kinds of businesses, investing in random things. It's like I want my money to be working at all times. And so I would say that this business is an extreme liability, right? Like somebody that's getting in the event space
It's risky.
is very risky. It's crazy. So to be able to be putting 20, 30, 40 million dollars into this was not something that I intended. I didn't mind putting mine in with a bunch of people, but I didn't want to front the whole thing,
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, you didn't want to take on all the risk. But then you were forced to because you're already this deep into it.
You're already in.
And
the model's already working. It was already that close to success.
yeah, and at that point, why give up equity and stuff? Because now
Correct.
I guess it became less risky.
Correct. It was way less risky when it was time for Andrew and I to ante up versus just, use the other dollars that were invested.
If somebody is trying to scale and raise money, I mean, you guys are buying businesses and other things. Like, what, I guess, are some things to look out for?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
for example, if I was like, hey, you know what? Maybe I'll sell a piece of my business because I want to go really raise and
Sure.
go do it quick.
Yeah. You have to decide why you want the money. If you want the money for growth, like let's just tackle that one. If you want the money for growth, then you have to decide, what am I giving up to get that growth? I've raised capital before, and one thing that I don't want to do is lose control. I don't want to lose control of my company. I want to make sure that I'm operating and I'm in control. The second thing is I want to make sure that I'm not losing focus, because oftentimes with capital comes new focuses, right? It's like, oh, I'm a strategic and I'm an investor, but also can we use your data to do this thing over here that I'm involved in, right? So like, I want to make sure I'm not losing focus.
You just want LPs.
Yeah, LPs. That's what I want. And LPs usually have no fiduciary responsibility. They just want a decent rate of return or an opportunity for return. And typically what I'm selling, because I've exited so many companies, is you have the chance to exit with me, right?
What kind of multiple are these guys looking for if you do exit? Like,
It's funny. Um, when you're in the real estate space, which so many of our friends are, the expected return is so great. Like when people give you money in real estate, they're like, I want a 15% rate of return.
Yep.
I typically dwell in the institutional space. So like I speak at a lot of family office groups. I have my own family office now. It's like I when you get into that level, they're not looking for huge rates of return. They're looking for 6, 7, 8% consistent, and they're looking for high probability
Safe.
and safe money. And so typically I'm getting money a lot cheaper than most people if I bring it in, which I don't need to anymore. But I started in the institutional space early on by providing a lot of value there, speaking their language. It's why I started, I was part of the starting of the American Association of Private Lenders because I was just trying to get into the institutional space. And it's different, and so it depends on who they are and what they desire.
Right. So, that's one stage for growth. What if somebody wants to, I guess the other ones would be just taking chips off the table?
Yeah. Chips off the table usually comes at a high cost because what most people believe about people that are taking chips off the table is they're on the decline, not the incline.
Mm,
And so oftentimes when you're taking chips off the table, it comes with a huge cost. Um, I am not a huge fan of people. I say if you're going to sell, sell, right? Like don't sell for the chance of, because essentially you're just playing this game of safety. Like just in case something goes wrong, I want to make sure I have my nest egg now. It's like, as an investor, I don't invest in stuff like that because
got it.
it's just like, well, it just feels like you're taking your foot off the gas.
Right. What about, I guess, people who maybe have put in a lot of money, like you
Mhm.
guys did, who
Yeah.
want to get some of it back?
Yeah. That's a recapitalization
Yeah.
though, and so recapitalization is different than taking chips off the table. If I have a bunch of capital out there, and let's just say, for instance, let's say Andrew and I have, $20 million that's out, right? And let's just say that that's the number. Well, I can go recapitalize that and let the business pay the interest on that so I can have the money back,
Right.
right? Versus it just sitting out there and it never being able to repay me or it's taking time, too much time to repay me. So oftentimes recapitalization is about getting my chunk back off the table while letting the business cover the cost of the capital itself.
Yeah.
Usually if you have a stable company, it's easy to recapitalize. It's like you can do that through bank debt, institutional debt, but usually that's a debt instrument.
Okay. So you're going to do debt, not equity.
Correct.
In what cases are you open to equity or like convertible notes and things like that?
I don't mind convertible notes, but typically where I go down the path of ever going down the path of equity is strategics, right? Like I only want to really give up equity for somebody who's going to help me get further down the road.
Mm,
I gave up equity in this insurance company that we're building because it was a strategic that already had all the relationships with the carriers that I wanted. And when I built the insurance company before, it took me 5 years to build those relationships. So it was like to me, if I can go 0 to 5 years in with
this
giving up some
guy.
equity, then I'll do it.
So everything else would be debt. So to
Yeah.
recap, if somebody here listening is trying to raise money,
hmm
you can raise it for growth, and
hmm
people love that. If
That's
it,
usually where most people want to play.
yeah, maybe recapping
hmm
in a different way. If you're going to take chips off, you might as well just sell.
Yeah. Build it to sell.
Yeah. It seems like most people these days, though, uh, with taking chips off, it's more so like, well, they're building it to sell, but they still want them to have skin in the game.
Yeah, they do.
Like with
I
your
would.
exits, how often has that happened?
Um, so here's what happens is every time I sell a company, they ask for three things. Number one, it's a revenue equation, right? Like they're looking at EBITDA or they're looking at my top line. That's number one. Number two, they're typically looking at IP. What do I do different that's different than anybody else? Like what do I have that's uniquely mine that positions me differently? And number three, it's an operating system. So what I want to do always as I sell is to systemize the business to essentially say, here's the manual for success because I want to eliminate as much as I can my necessity in that business long term.
Right.
If I at least give them the manual, right, the operating system is why I built the operating system, is so I could essentially go, hey, here's how you operate and here's how you maximize it. You just need somebody to operate it. And for me, that operating system is so important. So in that question, it's like if you go down that path, it's like I don't typically get stuck in my business for very long. unless I have created that path where I'm the face. And I didn't start doing that until I refused to be on social media. I just, it wasn't a path I was going down until a few years ago, because I actually didn't want to get stuck in my businesses. And the more I was dependent on me generating the leads, the more I felt like I was going to get stuck.
So do you feel like Aspire's like the first business where that's the case?
So, do you remember you and I were we were with Grant Cardone,
Yep.
right? You and I were there together. And Grant took me aside and he said, "You've sold a business for over $1 billion. Why don't I know more about you?" I was like, "Because I don't want you to. Like that's the way I've done it." He was like, "Let me tell you, everything you want is on the other side of exposure." And I was like, "No, everything I don't want is on the other side of exposure." He was like, "Well, let me ask you this. Have you ever tried to raise money and didn't raise enough?" I was like, "Well, yeah." He goes, "I've raised $5 billion." And I go, "Okay." He said, you ever need employees and you have to go recruit and you struggle to find good employees?" I was like, "Yeah, everybody does." He was like, "I don't. I get 40 people a day asking if they can work for me."
Yeah.
I was like, "Okay." And he just started like going down that path with me and I was like, "Okay." And he was like, "I'm telling you, everything." He was just tell your story. He was like, "And let the rest happen." And, my social media following exploded over the last 3 or 4 years or however long that was ago that we were there. And, was that 3 years ago? 4 years ago? I don't know.
Yeah, I can't remember.
And you were, you were well on your way. I mean, you were,
Yeah.
like you had all kinds of social exposure at that time. Like I was, it was just something I didn't do.
Yeah.
And it actually is true. Everything I did want was on the other side of exposure.
Yeah.
It did ramp and create speed in every area that I didn't have speed. But it has gotten me stuck a couple of times where I wasn't stuck in the past.
Yeah.
So,
Has it also increased your exposure of liability with just, I don't know, lawsuits and people
oh,
going after you?
I was always in business. You're always getting sued. I've been sued more times than I can count. But today, the frequency of getting sued is more frequent. Right now, Andrew and I are in a lawsuit, and it's the dumbest thing ever. We just got named because we're probably the most valuable person tied to this thing, and it's like, it's the dumbest thing ever because it's like, it's so frivolous, it's so frustrating, but the fact that I even have to defend it is,
Yeah.
and I guarantee that's tied to notoriety.
Yeah. For being in lawsuits and people who, are listening, most lawsuits end up with a settlement
Yeah,
and just it never even makes it to trial.
right.
But how much time and how many years and just headaches
It's
does it do?
frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's frustrating. I so badly want to just blast them all on social media and go out and say, "Let me tell you what's actually going on." It's like so much of it of the legal system creates this kind of money grab. Like it's just somebody trying to attach to something to get revenue, right?
Yeah.
Like, and not because you screwed them or you did something against them or you didn't service them in some way. It usually is just the nature of somebody wants something you have. And that's the part that sucks. But, it's just the nature of it. I mean, when I had the billion-dollar business, it's like we got sued all the time, from employees, from whatever. It's like once they perceive that you have something, you're fair game. And it's just a part of business.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. It's an unfortunate part of, I guess, America
Mhm.
where anyone can sue anyone.
Yeah.
It's just really easy to do.
Yeah. And it's
And you don't
it's
need any basis. You could just do it.
you don't need any basis. You can be sued in a state that you've never even done business in. I'm being sued in the state of Wyoming right now. I don't even have a Wyoming LLC. Never signed a contract in Wyoming. Never even was a part of business in Wyoming. And it's like, and I'm defending myself in Wyoming, right? It's just like it's just these stupid things, But
Yeah.
it just is what it is. And it's a necessary part of what you do in growth. But when I had $5 and $10 million businesses, I never got sued. You get to 100 million, all of a sudden I got sued all the time.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So, you sold all those businesses 5 years ago
Hmm.
and, you realize that, man, I need purpose and all
Hmm.
this stuff. Um, what else did you learn while you're like, how long did it take to build up all those businesses to that point?
Yeah. So I got involved in 2013 with those businesses.
Like, were they
And
all part of the same thing or like
there was 30 companies that were a part of that when I got involved.
and what were these
Um,
businesses?
uh,
There's so many.
Insurance and mortgage, like everything, like it was a little bit, it was
Did you have
magazine.
to sell them off piece by piece or
So
like
so I had 30 when I got involved. I was an investor. I had sold it my ad agency, and so I was an investor. And then when I got in, I realized, oh, this thing's a mess. And so all these companies, I really was trying to invest in one of them, one of the insurance captives. The owner, older guy named Mike, he said, "Hey, why don't you come in and run all these and help me fix them?" So I was like, "Okay, fine." So like to protect my investment, I got involved in all of them. So there's 30. Well, in 5 years, we grow to 86 companies, right? Like, and
just
I'm
acquiring?
acquiring and buying and selling and moving and growing and scaling, and it's just a wild ride. And build an entire system, flow back and forth between Atlanta and Kansas City every week, and it was a crazy, crazy journey. But we went from really 30 to 86 in total. And then I also had a bunch of businesses outside of there. I was still investing passively, and so then what happened is private equity. I knew in 2019 we were at the top of the market, and I started selling some of my real estate. I had some real estate holdings I started selling, and I started having conversations with private equity about recapitalizing one of the assets we had. And when they looked at our books, he said, "Actually, you're prime for acquisition. Would you ever consider us making you an offer?" I said, "Sure." I said, "But you understand that this business is tied to these three other businesses." He was like, "Okay, let me look at those three." So I grouped four of them together. They made me my very first offer in the beginning of 2019. And in the end, what happened was is that we started selling them in tranches. Like once one sold and they saw, I was very efficient in my operations, right? Like all that was Empire and what I was doing there. And it was like they were efficient. And when they saw them, they're like, oh, wait, these things are symbiotic. So then I had firms that would buy 4, 5, 7, 10 at a time and buy them together. Well, once I started selling one or two, it was like you might as well sell as many as you can. And the crazy part is then all the companies I was involved with, even passively, because I'm talking to 15, 20 private equity firms, it was like they would say, well, what else do you have? Do you have anything that operates this efficiently? And I would say, yeah, this company over here. Well, let me talk to that. And so it just like happened. And I knew that I was at the top of the market. So thousands of employees down to like 20 right before COVID. I mean, it was wild. And just
wow,
like how like the provision that happened there was incredible. But yeah, it was 76 companies in 1 year.
exited.
Mhm.
You're just like, I'm spending the whole year finding buyers.
And if you've ever done due diligence on a company versus real estate,
Takes
it's
forever.
super hard. Yeah. It was a lot of work.
And you sold all these things and now you're basically doing it again.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same playbook.
Rinse and repeat. I'm way faster, way more efficient this time.
Mm.
Andrew and I've already had 4 exits in the last year for about 110 million. And it's because I'm hitting stride faster.
So with those exits, when people hear that, it's like, oh man, like, did you guys make $110 million? Like, what did you make from those deals?
Um, we made probably 70% of that.
Wow. So the rest were, you bought it for
Acquisitions or
30% of that,
Mhm.
essentially.
Yeah, or created it. One we created.
Got it.
Yeah.
Oh, so you built it from scratch.
Yep.
Okay. So, I mean, with that, right? The money you're making is mainly just from flipping businesses at the end of the day.
At the end of the day.
What do you think about people who I don't know, they kind of like build, let's just call them legacy, but like they
Yeah.
don't ever think about exit.
That's 98% of the population.
Right. You think everyone should be thinking about exit?
Yeah. I think everyone should build their I call that the succession plan of a business. Like you will exit your business one day whether you like it or not. Like
Yeah, you're gonna
you're
die,
gonna
pass it
die.
down, or sell it.
So why not plan it? Like why not create a succession plan? And if you do sell it, you do. But you could pass it on to an heir. I mean, like succession planning isn't just exiting. It could be, doing an ESOP and selling it to your employees. I mean, there's a lot of ways to create succession or exits in business.
How do you mitigate taxes on that?
That's a whole strategy in and of itself. I mean, there's a lot of ways to do it. Andrew and I own our companies through what's called a ROBS, a rollover business strategy, and technically own all the private equity companies, the companies inside of our self-directed IRAs.
Got it. And then can you borrow against that?
Can. And we could roll profit up into it. Ours are all under a C corp structure, which is how a Rob's is structured. But there's a lot of ways to mitigate taxation risks.
And you can set those up before exit.
Mhm. Yeah. You have to there's a lot of hoops you have to jump through, but if you go, like, to Peter Thiel or any of these big guys that put billions of dollars in their retirement accounts, that's how they did it. We just set ours up the same way.
The hard part is just spending that money.
Mhm.
How do you spend it?
So at 59 and a half, it comes to you tax-free, so, I mean, that's a benefit.
Yeah.
Um, for,
I got 20 years though.
yeah, for me, you can create a lot of passive income through it, right? So you have active income, passive income, legacy income. You know, in that strategy, what I want is to create a lot of passive income because I can offset a lot of passive income. So I have 4,000 real estate doors.
Yeah. You're just using it for depreciation.
Correct. And if it's coming to me as a K1, it's easy to offset by acquiring this multifamily over here.
Got it. So for anybody who, is listening to all this, they're like, all right, dude, this freaking Eddie guy knows what he's talking about. Like, what's your funnel look like to get him to whatever the next stage is with you?
Yeah, I don't really have a personal funnel in
Yeah.
that, I pushed a lot of people to the Aspire tours, but I I want to be in service of all these people that want growth. And so one thing that I've committed to doing, and I don't know how much longer I'll do it, but I've committed to answering every DM on social. So I spend crazy amounts of time every week personally answering DMs. And so for somebody that actually just has a legit business question, I'll answer them, like I'm happy to. And in that, I have services and products that if it makes sense for them, then I'll guide them down that path.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So follow you on Instagram,
Mhm.
and, we'll link to it down below. And then if they really want to meet you and everything else, then just go to the next Aspire tour
We will be at a city near you.
every month.
Every month. And we are there. We're planned out all the way until halfway through 2026 right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Thanks. So you're already a year out.
Mhm.
And I guess it takes that much planning.
Yeah, it does.
There's a lot.
Mhm.
Then you got to reserve all the venues, reserve the speakers.
All the marketing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy business. But
Yeah.
that's how you get to $1 billion.
It's wild.
Well, dude, I appreciate you coming in, stopping by, especially
you.
while, you got the event going on, and,
Yeah.
looking forward to seeing what you guys do with everything.
Yeah.
And it's
Appreciate you.
awesome.
I also want to just say thank you for the stand you take on faith and business and all that type of stuff. I mean, for me, that is what it's all about. And I love that you stand up for what you believe in, and I love that you're helping people. And I think that's huge. So thank you.
Yeah, appreciate you. Well, guys, go check that out. We'll link to Eddie's Instagram and everything else, and we will catch you on the next episode. Peace.